Welcome to the National University Speaker Series. My name is Nancy Rowland Heinrich, and I serve as the Vice Chancellor for Communications and Community Engagement for National University. Tonight is a very special time for our speaker series. The speaker series have been taking place since July of 2020. We've had over 24 events with featuring some of our notable alumni, faculty, and community subject matter experts on a wide array of topics. I would like to welcome alumni, students, faculty, and staff. And for those of you who are with us for the first time, we certainly welcome you, and we appreciate those who have been joining us almost every month. I stand before you at a podium that has historical value at National University. In front of the podium is the Thunderbird, which was the original logo for National University after David Chagos founded the institution. And this was our logo for almost 17 years, where we had wooden lecterns in every classroom with executive style chairs and classrooms. And things have changed a lot since we've gone from lectern to laptop over the last few years. But tonight is especially important because we have the opportunity for all of you to meet our new president. And with the new president comes new possibilities. And Dr. Mark Milliron is the 6th president of National University. All of our presidents have come to the university at the perfect time to lead the future and the challenges and opportunities that we had at that time. But we're extremely proud of our Board of Trustees and those who made the brilliant choice of selecting Dr. Milliron as our current president to lead us in the future. Dr. Milliron?
Let's steal another mic. So what I'd love to do is dive a little bit into the story of National, because one of the things that was fun in my conversations with search consultants, the search committee, and meeting with the entire board, and then meeting with our faculty and staff as I entered National, was just the power of the resonance of the work of National over the last 50 years. And one of the things that was even more exciting was to sit with the team and to begin to pull all these stories together to think about how we tell our story about National University in particular. What we know is nationally, the need for students to achieve academic credentials, to get them on their pathway to possibilities, has never been higher. And what we know is that National has been about this work for a long time. I just love to talk a little bit about our story and about how we talk about ourselves, especially given that you are team members, you are alumni members, you are students, you are people in this larger community. And as I've connected to and learned more about this, it's been really powerful because I personally resonate with this. I come from a low-income background, really diverse family. And if it wasn't for Access Innovators, I wouldn't be here. National is one of the access and success innovators from all across the country that we should be deeply proud of. Let's just take a beat and talk a little bit about this university and the work of the last 50 years. Over the last couple of years, teams from across National, literally over 1,000 people, have really leaned into kind of refining our mission and vision. But let's get clear about who we are at National University. We are an institution committed to a mission to deliver accessible world-class student experiences by providing quality programs and services that ensure student success through meaningful learning. What I'm hoping you really resonate with around that is, one, I love accessible world-class student experiences. A lot of people in higher education reduce the journey through higher ed to a collection of classes. Now, you all know it's a family of experiences, right? From the first time you connect with somebody, to the other students you're interacting with, to the faculty, the co-curricular, to the internships. It's all those experiences wrapped together. And what we want to do is curate and create those experiences in a way where students are blown away by the resources and by the experience itself, and that you can get on that pathway to possibility. And this vision of really combining innovation and inclusiveness is powerful. And my favorite part about the end of the vision statement, serving lifelong learners who contribute to the positive transformation of society, you know what that means in shorthand? means that we want to be difference makers who are powering difference makers, right? And that larger work. That sound fun to be a part of? Yeah, we have to own this because in the world of higher education, national is a bit unique because we have been committed to this work for over 50 years. Think about our footprint right now, 40,000 students, 50 states, 20 countries. That's the service footprint for National University. We are 7 schools and colleges right now. I want to say them out loud because we've done the work of pulling together all of our institutions into this one national footprint of School of Arts and Letters and Sciences, School of Business and Economics, School of Technology Engineering, School of Health Professions, College of Law and Professional Studies, JFK School of Psychology and Social Sciences, and the Sanford College of Education. We've got this big footprint of institutions that are, again, powering these difference makers. And we're now one of the largest nonprofit private universities in the country, making the kind of difference we're making, clearly the largest in San Diego. But that's not all about our history. One of the things we have to do as we think about the road ahead, and what's going to be fun about the conversation tonight is figuring out how we come together as a community around this idea, is we have to honor our past as we look to the future. And part of the honoring the past is understanding the journey from idea to impact. And what I mean by that is if you look at the world of education, there are people who come up with game-changing ideas to help us think about how we open the doors to opportunity for people. So a good example is community colleges. Nobody used the term community college until 1949, coming out of a commission in Congress called the Truman Commission. And they talked about combining basically technical colleges and junior colleges into these things called community colleges. And suddenly they figured out a way to finance them, and they opened up at 1 a week in the 60s and 70s. And so suddenly community colleges are everywhere. That was a crazy idea, and now it's ubiquitous. Everybody, there are literally 10 million students in community colleges all around the country. National is like that. It's an access and success innovator, but it's broader because we're doing associates, bachelor's, master's, and doctorates. But from our very beginning in 1971, Dr. Chigos, when he came out of the Navy and started teaching advanced classes in multiple institutions, one of the things he realized is, for example, his classes at Palomar were not transferring to the local university. His classes in the university weren't being accepted in other places. And he said, this is craziness. We are not treating the military well. We are not treating working students well. We've got to figure out how we build a built-for-purpose university that can make a difference with these kind of students. And at that time, basically universities were very traditional, very standard, and there weren't a lot of other options. But he said, we're going to try to do something different. And so he started National University with that vision. And think about the commitment, especially to the military students. And you fast forward to today, we're still 1 out of every 4 of our students is military affiliated. That's powerful. And not only that, it's bigger than that if you actually think about the students of, the kids of people who are in that footprint. And it's even more profound in terms of that outreach. But that connection to the military kept us deeply committed to the notion of helping deal how we innovate around working students and students who actually have complex lives. Any of you have complex lives in your higher ed journey? Yeah, just a few. So going Monday through Thursday from 8 a.m. until 2 p.m. isn't always an option, right? So figuring out other kinds of options for different models really made sense. And the idea of, go back to 1971, the idea of these short courses, 1 class per month, which worked really well for deployed students in particular, come in and come out, was, oh my gosh, that's craziness, right? And then leaning into the new technologies and new techniques of the day. Fast forward to now, again, one of the largest Hispanic serving institutions in the country, one of the biggest HSIs out there. And the other thing to think about is we have 200,000 graduates since 1971. Again, think about crazy idea to impact 200,000 lives changed with these degrees. Every one of those numbers is a person with a story and an entire background that they brought to that journey that is now changed by having that degree. Does that make sense? That is big. That kind of impact is big. Of that group, 2/3 of them come from diverse backgrounds. Again, that's a powerful impact story. And even now, if going forward, we're the largest conferrer of graduate degrees to diverse students in the United States. Number 2 for doctoral degrees overall. Anybody else think that's kind of powerful? Yeah, it's a big deal. We have a story to tell about the kind of work we're doing. Then you look at our broader programs. We have outreach programs right now funded by Denny Sanford, the Sanford Harmony Program, Inspire Program. If you do the math on the tens of thousands of teachers that we've reached with these programs in big districts all across the country, teaching social emotional learning skills, which are kind of important right now, especially post-COVID, right? That kind of training program has reached well over 11 million students. Okay. Again, the kind of ripple effects of this larger work. We're one of the top providers for credentials for beginning teachers in the country. We're number one in California. And one of the data points I love is if a lot of people, when they're thinking about higher ed journeys, are asking the question, is it worth it? Right? Is it worth it to go on this? Because they're really worried about debt and they're really worried about whether or not they're going to get the bump. Data shows for national graduates, for folks like you all, 31% higher median earnings for our students 10 years after enrollment compared to the national average. That is powerful. And the fact that our students come out with far less debt, we're like half the US average for our folks coming out with student loan debt. Again, powerful. And we're doing it with a really strong financial footing here at National. You all should be incredibly proud of the work of the last 50 years. You're a part of something special. You're a part of an institution committed to helping more and more diverse students be more successful than ever before. We are a part of a community of practice of people who really want to not be defined by who we exclude. We want to be defined by who we include and how successful we make them, which is kind of a cool thing in the world of higher education. But we're not stopping. We're thinking now about what the road ahead is, which is going to be kind of fun. And three big areas in particular that we're excited about, that we hope you're excited about as well. We're going to start some conversations tonight around these areas. One in particular is we want to continue our work as a leader in next generation education, which means we want to think about the models of education that we're promoting. In other words, thinking about everything from short courses to doing fully online to doing hybrid, and then even pushing the boundary to think about, can we bring in augmented reality? Can we bring in virtual reality? Can we think about holographic technologies and think about how that's going to push the boundaries in the world of education? Remember, when we founded National University in 1971, we were using this new cutting edge technology called the cassette tape. Okay. And at that point, that was controversial, the idea of using the cassette tape to create asynchronous learning, which is what they were doing, right? And then it was like, oh, we're really going to innovate. We're going to use the VHS, not beta, VHS, right? And then we went from VHS, right? And then to CDs and DVDs. We went into the internet. And I mean, I remember I began my career in higher education talking to educators across the country, trying to help them believe that it was going to be okay to use email. Kid you not. And then in 95, 96, helping them understand, hey, this internet is a thing, right? You're actually going to use this internet. And it's going to be in 1995, 96, there were no online universities, none, zero, nada, right? And you think about now how ubiquitous that is and how everybody is leveraging some kind of online digital tool to be able to do the kind of work we're doing. And then you saw the rise of learning management systems. You saw the use of mobile devices of all, again, everybody didn't think mobile devices were going to take off like they did. The next big thing is probably going to be a family of things like augmented reality and virtual reality. And in 10 years, we're going to be looking back and kind of thinking about how different it is, right? In terms of the kinds of options our students are going to have, which is going to be fascinating. In fact, I would encourage you, find a young person in your life that has an Oculus headset, or find a young person you know in your life and go visit the education section of Meta and Oculus, and you're going to be blown away by what's available, what people are going to be able to see. And then just the basics of augmented reality and holograms are going to just kind of blow you away by what's possible. We want to be a part of that. We want to be a part of a university that is thinking about how we can use those tools, not because they're cool, but because they help people learn more effectively. And we want to think about how we include more people. We really believe deeply in something called S-Jedi, and that's not a Star Wars thing. Like S-Jedi for us is social justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion. And that we want that woven in. And what we find is if you use technologies well, you can include more people and you can include them and connect them in really powerful ways. And what we want to do is use technology so we can make human moments precious. Right? We want to create bigger connections with our students and kind of pull that in. Second thing, We believe deeply in the notion of creating credential-rich pathways, which means we want to think about how we can create a family of credentials that create value for students, meaning certifications that lead to associates, that lead to bachelors, that lead to masters, that lead to doctorates. We don't want our students to ever quit. We want them continually thinking about what's next for them. That what next question becomes really important because that learning becomes really important for their advancement. And we want to be able to weave that credential-rich nature in. And that also means we want to partner with other players. What we know is nationally, the community college sector in particular, if they want to transfer to universities that will help them take all their credits, we can be one of those transfer partners to help pull those people in. We want to partner with the military. So folks coming out, we can take the MOSs from their deployments and actually map the right into the credit pathways and give them credit for what they already know and get them on that pathway smoothly and cleanly, which is a kind of a neat vision. We want corporate learning and training to be able to be mapped in so they can get training for it. But the idea is we want to create these credential-rich pathways, including certifications. The idea, you can get an MBA from us and a Center for Creative Leadership certification on top of it. We want you to get an undergraduate degree in teaching, but also have an SEL certification on top of it. The idea of all these different kinds of value-add credentials sounds kind of good, right? The idea is you want to be able to show people what you know and be able to move on. And then finally, and probably most profoundly, and this goes to our core as a university, what we really care about, this notion of whole human education. And this is the realization, what we know from 50 years of doing this work is that we understand our students are human beings, which means you are a student and a mother. You are a student and a soldier. You are a student and an employee. You are a student. You get what I'm talking about? That and part is not the assumption that you're going to drop everything to do exactly what we say when we say it, right? Which is what happens often in other institutions. We understand the and part, which means we want to wrap the right kind of support around you to help you in this journey, which, by the way, doesn't mean everybody gets all the same stuff. What it means is we want to get the right kind of support around the right student at the right time in the right way, which means rock stars who want to go quickly, we want to get out of your way. Let you go and go do your thing. For students who need a little bit more support, they need financial support, they need some kind of SEL support, they need some kind of community-based support. We want to wrap that support around them, create a scaffold for them that they can go away as they get stronger, as they get on that journey. Does that make sense? But that whole human education, that's real for us. And what we know is that understanding that student journey really matters. If we can help them with housing insecurity or food insecurity or transportation costs, it will change their lives. It's a big part of what they're doing because students, we say it very clearly, students do not come to us for degrees. Say that again. They don't come to us for degrees. They come to us because they think the degree will help them change their lives, right? So we have to get crystal clear on that, which means we have to think about those credential-rich pathways, but then also thinking about, are we connecting with that human being and helping them understand the trajectory they're going to go on and how this can open a pathway to possibilities, which is really kind of powerful. That's fun. For us, thinking about this 50-year history and this exciting future, we're psyched. And I got to tell you, as a new president, I am thrilled to be a part of this journey. This is the kind of work I signed up for. This is great work worth doing, right? This is a vision worth working toward. And it's been fun to kind of meet the students, to meet the alumni, to meet the faculty and staff, and really think about what this is going to look like on the road ahead. And what we thought would be kind of fun tonight is, as we kind of look at this history and this potential, is to really unpack it together and have some kind of deeper conversations. So we're going to get into a kind of a rowdy Q&A. We're going to bring up Heather and Ashley, who are going to help us dive into a conversation around my own background and connection into this work, and then kind of the vision for the road ahead for National University. So let's go ahead and give them a big round of applause and have them come on up. And Ashley is our Director of Communications here at National University. Heather is our Manager for Alumni and Community Relations. And they've promised to be kind as we're driving into this larger work. But we're gonna spend some time talking together, and then we're gonna open it up for full conversation with you all. Sound good? Okay, let's jump in. You guys get to go.
Okay, great. So thank you for joining us tonight. One of the things you mentioned was the complexity of the student and the story they bring with them and their background. So I'm going to dig a little bit into your background then. Given that you started at community college and eventually went all the way on to earn a doctorate degree, what inspired you to keep going through that process? And what kind of advice could you give for students who maybe are in that building process? What kept you going?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. And the real truth of it is the right people showed up at the right time to help motivate me to kind of move forward. And my background is rowdy. I come from a family of 9 kids. I have an African-American brother, a Native American brother, a Korean sister. In addition to that, we had 25 foster kids who rotated through my house during the time I was growing up. My mom was a special needs nurse and my dad was crazy. Actually, my dad was a Navy chief. And we were really, really dedicated to the idea of kind of service we could kind of make within it. But we didn't have any understanding of higher ed. So when I was going on my journey into higher education, my mom and dad loved me to death, but they did not think we could pay for it. So they were really trying to help me think about another journey, right? So I literally had to forge my counseling cards in high school to be able to take college prep courses. And luckily in a big family, you can hide. And they weren't going to question my books and all those kind of things. But when I was 17 and I graduated, I literally didn't have any idea what I was going to do. And luckily for me, there was a community college nearby. I started bussing tables and paying my way through school. That's how I started at Mesa Community College in Arizona. But luckily for me, the right people showed up. I had a good set of friends who I met after I moved from California. I grew up in Northern California, Pacifica, if you know where that is. And I moved to Tempe, Arizona, halfway through my senior year. And ironically, the set of friends I met in Arizona completely changed my lives. They were unbelievable. And they helped me kind of understand what I could do next. And then I started meeting faculty at the college. So I met people like Jim Mancuso and Rick Myers and others who absolutely helped me kind of open my eyes to what was possible, but also understand how hard I was going to have to work to be successful at it, which was really important. So then I was able to get through my community college experience, transferred to Arizona State, and then got 2 degrees at Arizona State and went to get my doctorate at UT. But there's a lot of people in between that. And at every stage, there was the Sandra Petonios, the Chuck Bances, I can name the names of people who absolutely changed my life. They showed up at the right time. And as much as I love technology, and I've been advocating for technology my whole life in the world of education, never once at a commencement have I seen a student stand up and say, Microsoft Word changed my life, right? That's not what they talk about. They talk about people, right? They talk about the faculty and the staff and the fellow students that helped them on their trajectory. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that. The right people showed up in that. And one of the things I'm committed to, or we should be committed to as a community, is how do we make it more likely that that happens for our students? Because what we know right now is low-income students in this country, and I was one of them, low-income first-generation students are more likely to leave higher education with debt than a degree. It's a problem. What we want to do is make it more likely that they succeed, and which means we as a community need to show up. We need to wrap that kind of support around students to try to get them there.
Wow, I think I'm still stuck on the NorCal kid who's a Lakers fan. That'll be the next speaker series. So as NU's 6th president, you've come here at a really pivotal and exciting time in our history. Most recently, we just have completed a merge with North Central University. Can you explain a bit about what that means for students and alumni? What kind of opportunities that opens up? What are some benefits?
Yeah, I think the really powerful thing about what's happening right now with National University is, again, honoring our past as we move to our future. Part of what the Board of Trustees and the team here really did is analysis of our capabilities of continuing to make a difference. And one of the things that became pretty clear was there was real potential if we could come together and get our systems and processes aligned in such a way, we could scale in a way where our impact would be more profound. So by bringing together the work of WestMed, JFK, NCU, together with NU, and creating a single infrastructure that we could really lean into, we could take this goodness even greater across the country and maybe even around the world at some point. But the idea was, let's get this together in a way where we can make really profound impact, bring the goodness from all the constituent parts together, and get clear about the kind of road ahead we can chart. It's going to be easier to do that from a single point of greatness, if you will. And I'm super proud of all the pieces and parts that have gone into, all the players that have gone into the history of NU. And now it's our time to kind of come together and kind of vision what the road ahead is going to look like.
Yeah, I think it's a real pleasure to welcome all of the North Central alumni into the family.
Oh, it's amazing for us. We need to think about the idea that we are a family in common cause. We are here to help more and more diverse students be more successful than ever before on all stages of their journey. That could mean getting them into their first time in college and getting them on a journey towards an associate's or a bachelor's. This could be helping them advance their career and get a master's. It could be helping them really advance their career and get their doctorate. We want these constantly be asking, what's next? What's next? How can I learn more and how can I advance more? And we want to be a part of those journeys for our students. And National is uniquely positioned to be able to do that in the ecosystem of higher ed.
Quick question, just as you mentioned the ecosystem of higher ed, can you kind of explain the current higher ed landscape in a sense of, we hear a lot about enrollments declining, or there's a traditional 4 years. There are a lot more popping up to serve adult learners. Where does NU fit in that space and with other good players?
It's a great question. It's something we should really think about as a community. We should be ridiculously proud of the work of National and all the constituent parts that have come into the creation of National. We are a power, access, and success innovator. We're on a short list of big players nationally that are doing this kind of work, whether it's Western Governors University, Southern New Hampshire, UMGC, the folks who are really trying to do this at scale and make this kind of impact. We're distinct, though. We're not a Research One university like a UC. We're not a state university. We are not a community college. And one of the things we like to say all the time is, this is not a better than conversation. We're distinct from. We want to be a part of the ecosystem and make a difference in the ecosystem of regional education. Ecosystems matter because that's where people generally stay. People generally stay within 50 to 100 miles of where they were born, and that's how they can grow up. There's more movement than there ever has been in this country, but especially post-pandemic, it's actually been more in terms of how people are connecting in. We want to make a difference in those ecosystems. And let me tell you what, one of the things we say for National is, if you're an 18 to 20-year-old that really wants residence halls and climbing walls, don't come to National University. We're probably not the right university for you. And that's okay. We have to be okay with that idea that, hey, I love Research One universities. I liked the vaccines when they came out. That came out of primary research, which is beautiful. I love state universities and the work that they're doing. I love community colleges, been a big proponent of them for a long time. I love K-12 schools. And what we should want is for all these players to be radically successful and then also claim our space, which is, there is always going to be a need for an institution that is totally committed to working students, to returning adults, to people who need more flexibility and access. I don't know if you know this, but there are 38 million people in this country with significant college coursework on their transcript and no degree to show for it. And most of them did not leave because of academic challenges. They left because life happened. Right? They had a kid, they had a problem at work, they ran out of money, whatever it is, life steps in the way. And what we want to do is, hey, we want to step in and try to help those folks finish what they started. We want to help those folks who are now working and want to advance their careers and get that master's and get that PhD. And whoever needs our kind of flexibility will be there at the right age and stage. So I've got my executive assistant got her undergraduate degree at UNC Chapel Hill. And she loves Chapel Hill. She's got some baby blue on everything, and she loves their basketball team and their football team. She got it when she was 18 and 22 years old, lived on campus, had an amazing experience. Later, she got older and she had kids. She wanted to get her MBA. And she lived in the mountains of Western North Carolina, and there was nobody close to her that would let her get at that MBA. Her ability to access a nonprofit innovator like us is what allowed her to get her MBA. And she will tell you, she loved her on-campus experience and it was great, but it would not serve her when it came time to get the MBA. The MBA, actually, she needed an innovator like National to be able to get that MBA. That's what we want to be about, is actually being at the right place at the right time to make that difference. And here's the biggest thing. We don't want to be in better than conversations. We want to be in better with conversations. We think this community nationally and regionally is better with innovators like National stepping in and being a part of this ecosystem and really claiming it and being proud of it and coming together as a community to help our alumni and our fellow students.
No, that's great. And in thinking of students who need flexibility and access and might need to gain their education when they're in a remote location, what immediately comes to mind for me is the military, of course. And we talk a lot about being veteran founded and how we serve military students. I'm a military spouse. So in thinking of that community, what does NU do to support military spouses?
We were founded with the military in mind, right? So it's one of the biggest things for us is making sure one, we have flexible programming to make sure that the deployed soldier and the current soldier can be, but you have to understand is veterans really matter as well, and helping them as they're, and then you're thinking about the spouses, and then you're thinking about the kids. And if you're smart, you want to be the USAA of education, right? You want to wrap all kinds of support around those folks and give them options. And that means thinking about, hey, if that spouse has a deployed loved one, right? They might have time to do some learning. Like while they're doing that, you can make sure you're there and are able to provide that kind of services for them. It also means, by the way, remembering that whole human education, which means wrapping the kind of support around that student so they understand how we can be flexible for them and making sure we're letting them flex their life. Because it's really tough when you're managing a deployment as a spouse, because you're reacting to what's happening in real time with your deployed spouse. And so trying to make sure you can be flexible in your learning and help you finish what you start, because it often means you move, right? You move from one place to another. And what's great about National is it's not about you coming to the campus, right? It's about us meeting you where you are and helping you kind of complete your studies, whatever that's going to look like. It's amazing how many military spouses I've met in different states who have 90 hours from one institution, and they land in another state, and they go to the local universities and they say, oh, but you have residency requirements here, so you're going to have to go back. We'll only take 40 hours. We'll only take 50 hours. That's brutal, radically unfair. That's not what we're doing. Our goal is to meet that person where they are and take them where they need to go.
Well, and speaking of moving, every time those spouses move, they leave a job and have to start over. And so the idea of having those credential-rich pathways and building on those degrees in a way that's meaningful and really advances their career, not necessarily for a full degree program, but to go back and to enrich their experience, really resonates. So thank you.
Go ahead. For me, okay. I want to ask, we talked a bit about NU's branding campaign and supporting the whole U that launched over the summer, and it has a beautiful new logo and all of the wonderful elements that go along with it. So what are your thoughts on a mascot for National University?
I think it'd be wonderful for us to start having a conversation with our students and with our alumni about the mascot for a national. I was joking just today, we were talking about the fact that I went to ASU, which is the Three Forks, and then UT, which was the UT symbol. It's like, what's our hand symbol? I don't know. Is it the sign language N? I don't know. Like what is it? So there's some conversations we need to have, because I do think there's culture and community in some of those symbols. And so having a dialogue around, hey, let's figure out the mascot that really kind of fits our style and our personality. That would be a great conversation to have. And I would love to engage it. And you think it might be, oh, it doesn't really have a ton of meaning. It kind of does. People want to connect with their institution. And what's really cool about National is we have the chance to continue to invent National as it goes along, new learning models, new learning modalities. And now we have a chance to probably invent, let's figure out what our mascot should be and have a conversation around. So stay tuned for that. We're going to get into that dialogue.
More got a couple of alumni sitting right up front. So we're staying tuned for that.
Absolutely. No, and that's a great point. You mentioned that our students are students right? And so I am an employee of National University and an alumna, and I'm an employee and I'm a mom. So the other day I was in the car driving my kids to school, and I told them, I have the opportunity to interview the president, and I asked them, they're 4 and 9. So I asked the 9-year-old in particular, if you had the mic and you got to ask the president anything, what would you ask? And he kind of thought for a second, and he goes, how are you going to make things better? And I thought, yeah, he's got it. So I'm going to toss that to you. How are you going to make things better for students and alumni? What's coming in the road ahead?
No, I love it. And I think one of the things we want to do as a community here at National is really have those conversations about making things better. One of the community here at National has been doing some work over the last couple of years about kind of their aspiration of creating a place where people can do their life's best work to help our students make a difference. And one of the things they've come around is the kind of 5 ways of work for National University. And we've basically said, if we are going to be at our best, here's the kind of work we want to do. We want to do work in a way where we're championing student success, where we're building trust with our students and with our communities and with each other. We are advancing inclusion. We're making sure all the people at the right table, we're opening up our doors for access. We're embracing accountability to help deliver on our promises with our students. And then the last one is make things better. This whole idea of we want to be big innovative, there's no doubt, but sometimes the term innovation feels like it's too far out there. And the small things you can do to make things better for your students, like fix that form, clean that parking lot, make sure that room is available for them to be able to learn, whatever it might might be, it's like there's little things we can do every day to try to make national better. I'm a big believer. There's a fancy word for something called aggregated marginal gains. Aggregated marginal gains is basically a whole bunch of small wins added up. And if we can do the work together as a team to get a bunch of small wins to make things better for our students, we're going to hire your son, by the way. If we can do the work of making things better for our students, that all adds up over time. And what you end up doing is making a really powerful difference when you do that together.
Sweet question. So as we look at the cost of higher education increasing and inflation and, a lot of scary terms coming at us through economists, what are we doing as an access innovator? What are some of the things that we're doing to bring down the barriers and increase access?
Yeah. So I think when it comes to the financing in higher education, one of the things we want to make sure we do is we want to make sure as many students as possible come through their journey with us as debt-free as possible, right? And so we really want to look at our financial aid strategies and make sure we are helping students get the right financial aid in the right way to help them leave this journey, which is with little to no debt as humanly possible. That's job one. Job two is make sure we are running the organization in a way where we are deeply fiscally responsible, so that we are actually doing it. We can serve students incredibly well with our scarce resources. So because they're using their scarce resources. And I got to tell you, my personal belief is every time a student signs on the dotted line to join National, we're signing a promise. And that promise is we're going to work hard to try to help them achieve their dreams, which means we have to be scrappy, right? If we're going to try to make that. And so we aren't going to do the residence halls and climbing walls, right? We're going to try to put that into our programs and into our service. And we want to have world-class student experiences. We said that, right? Which means we have to start ideating about how we use those resources effectively so our students get that really rich student experience in a way that's not, it doesn't cost a ton of money to be able to do it. So part of that's just being fiscally responsible. And I think the last one is we want to make sure our students are prepared themselves for those kinds of financial choices going on. So in our whole student education work is a lot of work to try to help them learn the rules of and learn the kind of strategies of being fiscally responsible and being able to kind of take that on themselves so that they can cascade that on into their own work.
No, that's great. In reading about your background and better understanding where you came from, you spent time in higher ed and you spent time in the corporate world, and you have this really diverse background, but you also have a lot of strong experience in data and understanding and analyzing data. Tell us, how do you envision you really using data to inform student success?
It's a great question. And my passion for data really came out of this idea about how do you make sure you're using everything at your disposal to understand students and be able to serve them as quickly as possible. Because nothing is more frustrating. You all remember as students, if you turn something in and you don't get the grade back for 3 weeks or something like that, how exhausting that is. And you just realize like, hey, there's data sitting there that's telling you I'm on course or off course. I'd rather know right away whether I'm on course or off course and try to make the changes in it. And what we know is that, think about this as a data experience. A really high quality teacher in a classroom of 10 students is actually incredibly data rich. And what I mean by that is they're not using ones and zeros. They're using all kinds of data. They're using your eye contact, your paralinguistics, your summative informative assessments from your assignments, and they're processing that all with this incredible computer called the human brain, right? And they're doing real-time diagnostic and assessment with you. And I'm now tuning what I'm going to be doing. The question is, can we do more of that at scale? Which means, can we take data from students and help understand are they on track or off track and figure out what can we do to help them be more successful? And one of the things that's frustrating for me is the places where data are used the most are where it means the least. So if you go to Amazon, they have deep algorithms that know if you buy this, you're also likely to buy this, and they're going to recommend it. And one of the things you all know is we're all looking for those recommendations, right? We want to know. So what we want to be able to say to a student, the student just did this, we want to be able to say, hey, students like you who did this, here are the kinds of options they took on. And I think you kind of want to know that. And let me tell you what, second, third generation kids who come from big higher ed families, they're deeply scaffolded by that kind of information. If something goes wrong, the world shows up to help them make better choices. Often first generation low income students from very different backgrounds, they don't have that same kind of scaffold, that data rich experience. I want to make sure they have it. I want to be able to say students like you who are making these choices, here are the things they chose. Here's the next course they took. Here's the curricular resource that's going to help them. We want to make sure our students have a data-rich experience so that we can equal the playing field, right? So anybody can have really good resources at their disposal to make the next best choice.
Wow. So Heather touched on the fact that you do have a very diverse background and working in a lot of different fields. What was it about National University that brought you to us?
How can you not be inspired by that mission and that vision, right? That idea, I mean, for somebody like me who really cares about trying to make a difference in the world of education, one, I started reading all that stuff and understanding. I've known National for a while. You've been one of the players out there. And by the way, I was loving what I was doing. I was executive dean of the largest college of education in the country, Western Governors University. Also ran our College of General Education. 34,000 students in the College of Teachers College and 70,000 in our Gen Ed College, and loving the work that we were doing. And I had helped. I was an early trustee that helped found Western Governors. Was a big part of kind of their growth, and was deeply committed to that larger work. But when the national voices started coming, I literally left the first conversation and I started talking with the search committee, and I started talking with the people who had been at National. And I went back to my wife and I'm like, I'm going to have to keep looking at this. I'm like, and this is literally the words I use. I was like, these are my people, right? These are my people. Like, these are the kinds of people who want to do the kind of work we want to do. Like, I want to be a part of this. And I go, and this university is poised to do really powerful work. And I think I can help. I think I could be a part of this team and really do it. So I got excited, right? And started getting into the conversation, and I had to make a hard choice because I had built a really cool team at Western Governors. And we were doing some great work, but it was like, okay, one of the things I knew is I had trained an amazing successor who was able to come in and take the run. She's amazing. And so I felt good about how I was leaving them, and it was the ability to come here and make this kind of difference. And we just had our board retreat last week, and really started our conversations with the board. And I've been here now for a grand total of a month, right? But one of the things I told the board chair, I'm like, I'm actually happier about my decision now than I was when I first signed the contract. So I'm actually feeling pretty good about it. I love the folks. I love the work we're doing and the people we're doing it with.
That actually answered my next question. I wanted to play a fun word game in the sense of, to complete the sentence of I'm proud to be a part of NU because, but I think you really nailed it. So I know I am proud to be part of NU because I believe in the power of education to change lives. It certainly did that for me. And I think you've touched on it over and over. So again, I just am so thrilled to have you here. I think all of us are. I don't know if we want to open up to some questions in the audience or from online. We'll turn it back to Nancy.
Thank you. That was excellent. And I think you have a better understanding of why we have found an ideal fit for leading National University into the future. And he truly has, Dr. Milliron has only been here a little over a month, but I feel like he knows as much about the institution as I do. And it's been several decades.
To be fair,
So-
Nancy gave me a 400-page history of National. Said, go home and read this.
That is true, but and thank you for reading it. He did his homework, definitely. But we do have a lot of questions that have been submitted online, and we also would like to take a few questions from the audience. But I'm going to go ahead and start with an online question. If there's anyone in the room that would like to ask a question, please raise your hand. So first question. How do you emphasize a practical education to make graduates from National University more competitive in the job market?
It's a great question. I think one of the things we've tried to do, what National has clearly tried to do, is to make sure we are building programs with reality therapy involved. And what I mean by that is building programs that have deep practical applications from our clinical experiences and our teaching to the work in criminal justice, and figuring out how we can weave those into our experience. We were just having a conversation today about how we weave service learning into the work that we're trying to do to make sure people have the chance to actually do some of that kind of outreach and kind of engagement in some ways. So the more you can bring it to life, the better it's going to be. By the way, I do think things like AR and VR are going to be really powerful in that. The ability to actually see and connect becomes really powerful. If you really get brain research, they really talk about that you really deepen learning by connecting students to wildly high quality content, really powerful context, which means relevance, application, utility. And then you want to connect them to a community of practice, community like them who can help them learn more effectively. The more we can connect them to that rich context, the better our work is going to be. By the way, a community really matters in that. So trying to get you connected to a learning community to get that kind of reality therapy so that you can actually build near peer relationships. So a student can connect with an alumni who's gone through the program and can tell them, oh, I wish I would have done X, Y, and Z more, right? You can actually build some of that connection in some way. So I'm really excited about the idea of us building near peer relationships here and kind of doing more of that work.
Thank you. And I'm going to do one more online questions, and then if we could hear from our audience live, that would be great. So recently, we've had an influx of many students from North Central University. Tell us what will be their experience and what the expectations can be now that they're part of National University.
I think their expectations should be high. I think the expectation should be that they're going to be a part of a community of learners and a community of practice that's going to help advance their profession. And we should really work together to make National all it can possibly be. I mean, we want to make good on this brand, so this brand carries weight, right? So you feel good, you feel proud about being a part of this, and you really want to make sure this gets more successful over time. Does that make sense? So we're going to be better together on this one. And I think we have to make good on the promise of making that transition as smooth as possible, but we also coming together can make it as valuable as possible for folks who are coming in.
Thank you. And we do have one of our very distinguished alumni in the room and a former dean from many years ago, from the Dean of Computer Science, Peter Sibley. Peter has a question.
First of all, heartfelt welcome. I've met you before 6 years ago when you were with the Reach Higher. You did a presentation for the Michelle Obama Reach Higher group, and I was impressed at that time. Civitas and all of that. I think we've made the search committee's made a wonderful decision. I'm uniquely excited by this. We know it's going to be the team you put together. Could you talk about how you plan to extend your reach?
Yeah. So what's really powerful about National University and the coming together of all the constituent parts is this is a talent-rich opportunity. And I've told people as I've talked nationally with people, there are so many good people at this university, unbelievably talented and dedicated folks who get this mission and who want to do this work. Well, I got to tell you, one of the things that's really frustrating is when you go into the world of education, especially in the university world, and you try to do access kind of work and success kind of work, because we do both. Access and success is a pair. You want to get those together. There are some people who do have kind of at heart, they're kind of elitist, you know what I'm talking about? And they're not made for this kind of work. They're just not, because their way of succeeding is by excluding, right? By only taking the very the absolute cream of the crop, as they would call it, which I think is kind of crazy, and then charging them a whole lot of money to kind of do what they were going to do. And God bless them. I wish them all the best in doing that kind of larger work. We want people who in their heart of hearts get this mission. They are about creating accessible, notice that, accessible world-class student experiences. And that dual mission is hard. It's hard work. We want people who are committed to that. So I think job one is for me to be crystal clear. This is the work we're doing. right? And if you want to be a part of this work, let's roll up our sleeves and let's do it. If you don't want to be a part of this work, I'll help fill out your resume. Let's get that going, because we need people who are going to be serving our students in a way where they have the heart and they have the skill and they have the will to kind of knock it out of the park. So that's the biggest part, is understanding this isn't going to be about me. This is going to be about this whole team and this whole community. And one of the things I'm going to be clear about is who we are and who we serve and the kind of work we're going to be doing, and making sure we are proud of it, but also we're about getting team members on this team that want to do this work with all their hearts.
Appreciate that response. Another question from the audience, and we have Ali, who is the president of the San Diego chapter of the Alumni Association.
My name is Ali again. I finished my bachelor's degree and master's degree at National University, and now I'm in a PhD program at Capella University. So my question is, what is your plan to make National University as a worldwide university?
Yeah. So two answers, a great question, Ali, and I want to give two responses to it. One, I'm always worried about goal displacement. And what goal displacement means is if you put the wrong goal out there, you suddenly organize your entire self around meeting that goal in a way that you actually kind of warp your core mission. And let's be clear about this. If our goal is just growth, to be big, that's scary, right? And that can't be our goal. Our goal has got to be so good that we're worthy of scale. We're worthy of being bigger. So our job is to create those world-class student experiences and then figure out how we can reach and teach more people as we're doing it. So job one, world-class student experiences. Are you with me on that? Let's go ahead and try to make that happen. Then the second part of that thing is to figure out strategically, how can we work, especially with people in common cause? And that means, for example, reaching out with other access innovators like there are 1,200 community colleges in the country. They only go to associates and some bachelors, right? We could be great partners with them and actually help those students get on pathways to possibility. A big chunk of their students are working students, first generation, low income. It sound familiar? Right? So we could partner with those folks and be able to pull them in on these pathways and do that kind of work regionally, which could be really kind of powerful. We could get better at working with the military. So even though we're doing good stuff with the military, how do we map more of their MOSs directly into our programs and give them credit for prior learning and get them accelerated on their pathways? We could work directly with employee training programs to make sure we're doing the same thing, mapping, credit mapping, and skills mapping that work in. That's a way where we can quickly build partnerships and connections around the country and really extend our reach in really powerful ways. So job one, keep the main thing, get really good at delivering our programs. And what I know pretty clearly is that you all talk. Students talk to each other. And so if you're doing really good work, your referral rates are going to go up and you're going to pull people in. And then two, start partnering like crazy with the folks who are yours in common cause. And by the way, you have a whole bunch of independent colleges out there who are beginning to reach out to the adult learning market, who only go to the bachelor's or master's level. They can come to us to get their master's or their PhD. All kinds of ways we can try to build these larger connections, which is why entering is, this is not a competition. I don't want to be in competition with other educational institutions. I want to work with partners in common cause to figure out how we can come together to kind of expand the reach of National University.
Thank you. I will take one online question right now, and then we'll have one more from the room. But one of the questions coming from alum is their degree maybe a decade ago or 2 decades ago. And what recommendations do you have as president looking at these credential-rich pathways for our alum in staying competitive in the job market, whether they return for another degree, multiple degrees, or looking at other stackable programs?
Yeah, part of what our work should be is to help that alumni member answer the question, what next? Like, what else should I be learning? What else can I do to advance my pathway to possibility? Which means, by the way, we have to do a couple things. One is we have to create and curate those credential pathways so we can kind of guide people to say, oh, you want to now be you want to do project management in this, you want to be able to get your MBA, you want to be able to get your doctorate. We can give them the value added pathway, and it's got to be a value added pathway. Credentials without value make no sense. You want to make sure people are getting some kind of credential that matters. And by the way, sometimes the credential can be an industry certification. It does not have to be. It can be, you have to figure out what is the right credential that's going to give that person more choices and kind of to figure out the direction they're going to go. And I'll, this is beyond national, but I'll tell you the truth about this. I'm a big proponent of CTE, career and technical education. Let me tell you what, if you want to, there are trades jobs out there that are absolutely amazing for folks. My nephew, who is one of the most accomplished, successful human beings on the planet, barely graduated high school because he wanted to stab his eyes out in the lectures. Like, he could not learn that way. He wanted to be on heavy equipment. And since that time, we've got him through high school. He's learned every kind of industry certification you can imagine in construction trades. He's one of the most successful developers in Western North Carolina. Google Eagle's Nest. You'll see the stuff he builds, which will just blow you away. What we know is that the right kind of learning that will help you with your passion can be powerful. Our job should be to figure out the possibilities for you and help you answer the question about what's next and how we can help each other in that dialogue.
Thank you. And I have a question from the audience.
Welcome. I'm so excited to have you on board and to see through this mission. I wanted to ask you, you touched on certifications. What can be offered and what sort of a time frame to alumni or all students in terms of certifications?
No, I love the question. And Chris Graham, who leads our Workforce Education Solutions Group, I hope he's listening, because one of the things we've been talking about is immediately starting the dialogue across all of our deans and all of our colleges and schools to figure out what are the family of certifications that make sense for our students. We do not want to offer certifications that don't have value. They have to have clear value for you on your edge and your promotional journey. So we have a family of certifications that are available right now. If you go to our Workforce Education Solutions site, there are options there. If you're in teaching, we've got a whole series of programs in our Harmony and Inspire programs. We're going to have more. We're going to be looking at building those into all of our programs. We'd love for people to be able to graduate from programs with multiple industry certifications, along with their bachelor's, along with their master's, along with their doctorate. And we want them to be on-ramps that'll help people come in, but we also want them to be off-ramps, which means they add value to that degree on top of that degree. I actually think certifications are the new minors. So instead of getting a minor in things, people are getting a major and they're getting a multiple certifications because they want to be an MBA with a Center for Creative Leadership certification, right? They want to be a teacher with a Harmony SCL certification. That just signals to the employer that they're doing broader work than just that basic degree. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Makes absolute sense. Have a question here from Taylor. Taylor.
Hello, Dr. Milliard. So as our new president and of National, I feel like the community might not know who you are. So how do you plan on engaging the community outside of obviously this event with students and alumni, the larger community?
Yeah. So it's a great question, and great to meet you, by the way. She's been one of our power alumni and helping us kind of drive our larger work. I think one, these kinds of events are going to help. So then getting out around the country is going to help to be able to meet our folks. I also love, if you want to outreach me and connect me, that'll be great. I was also brainstorming with a group of folks here. I did this thing when I was in Texas, launching an institution where we did a tour of Texas barbecue. We went to different Texas barbecue joints and we met up with students and alumni. It was amazing. It was fantastic. And what I loved about it is when I got on the commencement stage, I knew about half the students that were coming across by the time because we had done that. So I'm like, what is the equivalent? Like, is it going to be the tour of the Mexican food restaurants? If we do like a mole tour or something, I got to figure out what the tour is. But I think that'd be fun. I mean, figuring out some meet and greet options would be really neat. And I know I can get some partners in that work that'll come out to be a part of that dialogue. It'll be good.
I know we got started a little late because of a few technical problems. So I have one more question for online and then one more question in the audience. And I will have to walk by you to get to the audience. I apologize for that in advance. But I know National has always engaged in corporate partnerships. And could you please provide an update on how the Amazon partnership is going? I know that was a significant accomplishment to get the partnership with Amazon. But could you talk about that and corporate partnerships, which is really key with employers?
Yeah, so I think our work with corporations are part of a broader partnership framework, right? So partnering with community colleges, with the military, and then with corporations and employers in general. It's not just corporations, it's employers, right? So employers, which you might not know, is that the employer training world is actually 2 to 3 times as big as higher ed. They have to spend a ton of money and a ton of time to get their employees up to speed in all kinds of different ways, which means there's a whole lot of learning there that we could be skills mapping and connecting to our larger work. Amazon's one of the ones we've been doing recently. I think we're number 3 in the country in terms of the big players that are working with Amazon and driving that larger work. We want to be number 2, then number 1. We're going to get ourselves after it. But the whole idea is we want to find ways with any employer to be able to map our learning with their learning and figure out how we can create easier on-ramps for students. I got to tell you, nothing is more frustrating for a student to have to relearn something because you can't figure out a way to honor what they already know, right? So you got to figure out a way to get that assessment of prior learning. So if they already know it and they can show it, let's figure out how we can get them on the pathway quicker and pull it in. So that's part of the work we're going to be doing. And part of it also is just making sure we are easy to work with the corporations. Increasingly, you're going to see tuition assistance programs out there because corporations are figuring out it's penny wise and dollar dumb not to fund them, right? Because it actually helps keep your employees for a longer period of time. So more we can work with tuition assistance programs and debt forgiveness programs for employees, the better it's going to be for them as they're kind of getting on those pathways. The employers have really learned learning and earning is actually a thing, right? It's the employees are actually better employees when they're learning, right? There's something about that. We all know that. A friend of mine used to do research on this. He called it the retired in place index. And there are people who are in their 30s who are retired in place, right? They're just doing the same thing. They're not learning anything new. They're just kind of spinning their wheels. I don't want to be one of those people. I want to be learning something new. So figuring out that what next synchronization with employers will be part of our work.
I know we're going to need a follow-up dialogue in the future because there's so many questions that have come in. We will take one from the audience, then I'll have a closing question for you.
Hi, nice to meet you. My name is Sherwin Conley. I'm a strong proponent of National University. I'm a veteran, 20-year retired. Thank you. I got my bachelor's in business management, got double masters over here, HR and marketing. It was easy, the funding was there. So I'm blessed. Ms. Heather knows that. So how does this, I guess I'm kind of piggybacking off somebody's question with the credentialing, like say someone like me. So I just told you I have my master's and I've been working with the government. So, my happy times was military. Now the government's like, yeah. And then I want to figure my life back up, as I retire again. How would this credentialing look like for somebody like me? So my background in the military, by the way, was culinary specialist and logistics. So I was both at SK and a CS. So yeah, that's my question.
No. So those are the kind of questions where we sitting with somebody to figure out what their conversation with themselves and with their family is around their purpose really matters. So when you get an idea of the kind of future you might want to hold, and then you map that to, okay, here's what I know now, and here's my credential set, and this is what I'm thinking might be interesting for me to do, and then we can be in that ideation phase together. And then it's the delta, like what's the difference here? What can I do to actually make it more likely I can do that job, or I can take on that career, whatever it might be, including being entrepreneurial and starting your own thing. You don't always have to work for somebody else, right? So that means thinking, what are the education opportunities, whether it's certifications or it's a doctorate degree, whatever it is, that'll open that pathway. So for me, it is really thinking about what's your dream. Like what's your dream and what's your purpose? What we know is students are radically more successful if they're clear about their purpose. Purpose work's the hardest part of this process, right? Is to sit and have those dialogues. We love to engage those dialogues and then figure out of the educational programs that make sense. If we have the right one, let's figure out how we get you on that and help you be successful. But we got to do that purpose work first to figure out what possibilities do you want to unfold. And if we can get you the right educational credential that makes sense, which again, might be an industry certification, it might be a doctorate, we can get you on that pathway. Yeah.
Thank you. And thank you for your service. Final question for the president. You have this captive audience of students,
They don't want to be captive.
staff, faculty, but I think very enthusiastic, very excited about what you've shared thus far. what can we do to bring the entire community to make things better for everyone? How will you bring us all together?
Let's talk a little bit about what we can do together on this one. One of the things I'm pretty clear on is the power of people to help kind of open your aperture and kind of make you think beyond what you thought was capable. Because again, I go back to that idea of like talk to the 19-year-old me, or even the 17-year-old me walking onto Mesa Community College's campus. I'll just tell on myself in this. 17 years old, walking on that campus, working as a busboy, trying to figure life out. I literally did not know what an AA stood for. I'm looking at the catalog and what the degrees are, and it says an A. I'm like, I don't know what an AA is. I didn't know what an AS was. I kind of knew what BS was, right? Because I was totally making it up. And I was in deep imposter syndrome, right? I was totally faking it, hoping nobody figured out I didn't belong there, and that kind of process. And again, the right people showed up, going back to your first question, that actually helped open the doorway for me, and really powerful people. So this guy named Dr. Alfredo de los Santos. Alfredo was the first Mexican-American to get a PhD at the University of Texas at Austin. He was the first Mexican-American college president in this country. And I became friends with his son, and I started getting connected with his larger family. I had no history of higher ed in my family. He had it in his. And he's the one who kind of grabbed me by the shirt and was like, you have no idea what you can do if you try. Like, let's get our eyes together and think about what would be possible for that. Just that kind of eye-opening idea about, oh, that kind of connection. And he used to say he was the brown boy from the valley. He was from Laredo, and like in same thing, the right people opened his eyes up and made him think about where he could go, and he wanted to pass that on. And I've always, every commencement I do, and I've done a lot of them, I love commencements. I'm a commencement junkie. I love, especially for our kinds of institutions, one of the best things is sitting on the dais, sitting on the stage, and seeing the shoes of the students who come by. And why I say that is the shoes under those gowns, they tell a story about the students. Their new shoes, their old shoes, their work shoes. They're, you know what I mean? They're all different shapes. There's, flip-flops and bare feet, whatever it is. They're all different kinds of backgrounds, but they help you understand the journeys these students will go on and the ones they want to be able to go on in some ways. And what's great, every time I come into a commencement and I'm done talking to the graduates, one of the things I always say at the end of my speech is, guess what? Your job's not over now. Like, you now have another job. If you have been successful on this kind of a journey, and I don't care if you're getting an associate, a bachelor's, a master's, or a doctorate, you have a job. And the job is each one reach one, which means each one of us has a responsibility to help open this pathway to possibility and help some other person. And it could be somebody who's in your immediate family. It could be somebody you know who's searching right now, thinking about what they want to do, and help them get on that pathway to possibility. There's something powerful about that. And if you know National exists, you can help them get on this pathway. There might be another pathway for them. I don't care. What I care is that you're going to be a part of that cycle of each one reach one to help somebody think about what their next possibility is going to be. And that's going to be pretty powerful. You guys want to do that? Let's do that. Give yourselves a round of applause. I love this group.
And that certainly was a powerful message to close with. At this time, again, I would just like to thank our online audience, our live audience, for attending the National University Speaker Series. I would also like to share with you, next screen, the upcoming National University Speaker Series. And this is going to be very exciting with one of our graduates, Jody Grenier, on leadership during turbulent times. And Jody is a veteran and just a wonderful speaker, and we'll have a lot to share with the audience. And we will have that moderated by Meg O'Grady, our new Vice President of Military Affairs. So we're very excited for that on November 15th. Again, I'd just like to thank all of you for attending the NU Speaker Series. Appreciate that you have this high level of interest in finding out who will be leading the way for the future of National University. And I'm sure you're as pleased as we are to know that it's President Mark Milliron. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.